probably the most climactic game or matchup of this round of 16. The massive Madrid derby, Real Madrid versus Atleti. And like we alluded to earlier, despite how well a team might play, there's just something you can't really account for. And that's, or maybe you can always account for when Madrid are involved. And that's just heritage and magic when it comes to this competition. And of course, like you probably expected. I mean, we all predicted it, but we all thought it might be a closer game. And it was as close as it could be. And of course, Real Madrid go through on penalties in controversial fashion, but things just happen to work out for them.
Yeah, what a series of games. I really felt for Atleti. I really thought they deserved it with the way they played. Generally, I like to follow Madrid. I wouldn't call myself a super fan, but I'm like a casual fan of them. And I did not think they deserved to move on with the way they were playing. But it really was just that magic and that luck they always seem to have in this competition. And that little double kick in the penalties, that's one of those calls where, I guess for context, if you don't know, one of the Atleti players, I believe it was Alvarez, he was going to take his pen and he like slipped as he went to kick it, and his weak foot touched the ball before he struck it with his dominant foot, or also known as a double kick. And so because he moved the ball before shooting it, even though it was quite literally a millimeter or something, I mean, looking at the video, it is very difficult to see unless if you have like the perfect angle. Because of that, their goal they had scored there was disallowed, and it gave Madrid just an easy advantage to win on pens. I think something like that, I mean, that's got to be a super tough way to go out. And it brings us back to the discussion of rules within the sport and how we define them, I think it's good to have rules, obviously, like with offsides, handball, they're all important. But with cameras and VAR, it brings a whole new level of analyzing these games and making these calls. And I tend to struggle when calls are made when the touch is so minimal or the line is so thin for an offsides. It's a bit nerve-wracking, I guess. And it can get annoying when things get reviewed so many times in a game. And it can be disappointing for a team like Atleti when, you're out of the Champions League because of it. I don't know the solution, but I just think that's a tough way for them to go out. I think Madrid against Arsenal will continue to perform and probably move on through the competition. But they got really lucky with this one.
Yeah, it was unfortunate to see, especially for Julian Alvarez, because he played so well across both legs as well. Him leaving City and going on to show they regret it, honestly. City really could have used him this year. He's just genuinely a really good player. I think he's the player from that Argentina World Cup win that actually proved that like his performance during the competition was a sign of things to come. We went and got Enzo Fernandez, who, not saying he's terrible, but, maybe sold us a bit more of a dream for 100 mil than we should have paid for at Chelsea. But anyway, it's just really unfortunate that they went out like this. Even in the moment, I had like texted you, Alexi, or just our group chat, and I was like, I'm struggling to even see this touch because I hadn't seen the top-down view. I think only I was watching it on the Champions League show on CBS, like that panel, and they were showing like this crazy side angle, which was really
that was the
down.
Angle where you could see it.
Yeah,
that was it.
Okay, I can actually see it a little bit. But even then, the fact that that's what it comes down to, there are other penalty infractions that happen where you retake the penalty, but for some reason, this is the one where It's just it's counted as no goal, which is unfortunate. Like I think something like that maybe should be a retaking penalty, but even then, like it didn't even end up mattering because we also had another penalty, ended up hitting the bar. So and then Oblak couldn't keep out Rudiger's pen, so just unfortunate in general. But even in the pens, there was another Atleti player. I think he scored his pen, but he also slipped a bit when he was taking his pen. So it was just like all these kind of things where it's like that's just unlucky. Like they're taking at the same penalty spot, but Atleti players are slipping. Real Madrid players aren't. It's just like we said before. It's just something. There's always something with Madrid, and they always somehow pull it out. But I do want to talk about. We don't have to get into the entire game, but the Ballon d'Or candidate from this previous year, Vinicius Jr., that dude was terrible that game. I don't want to dog on him. I don't have any hate fame for Vinny. Like, he's cool. I think he's a great player, obviously. But that game was one of the... I don't get to see that many Madrid games. I don't watch that many La Liga games. They're usually in the Champions League. I get to see them. But that is probably the worst performance I've ever seen from him, watching in real time. It was just embarrassing, and he got taken off before the end of the game, which was a sign of that. And I wanted to give a lot of shout outs actually to Fede Valverde, because he's playing makeshift right back for Real Madrid. He can also play right wing. He also is really a central midfielder. That dude is just like a Swiss Army knife, and you rarely see him drop like a below an 8 out of 10 performance. Like, he's just consistently really good. Even if he's not like the most flashy, or like maybe he won't always give you the crazy goal or whatever, he's never like a liability in the team. And seeing him even play out of position like this, especially for Madrid, because they have so many great midfielders, so you can only fit them all in somehow. I think the way they're actually utilizing him right now is really interesting, and I just want to give shout out to him because he destroyed his penalty, played super well the entire game, and I honestly think, it might sound crazy, because they have Vinny, Jude, Mbappe, Rodrigo is a dark horse, like even players like Modric who's on the way out but like still comes on and runs games. I think Valverde is sneakily the best player on that team, which is kind of crazy. But if you actually look at his average performance, I think it's probably the highest on the team, but at least from what I've seen. Obviously I don't watch every game, like I said, so I just want to give him his respect. But yeah, that was a really eventful matchup, and I know going into the next round, even if it was lucky, Madrid's going to go into that with confidence. Arsenal, though, like you said, they had a massive aggregate win in their game, so they're going to go in with confidence. But the difference maker is probably not having Saka. Even if I don't know when exactly he's supposed to come back, but even if he does come back, he's not going to be 100%. So it's unfortunate for them, but if they actually get out of that one, I'd be really impressed. I don't see it happening, but I'd be super impressed. Not that we're getting into all the predictions, but that would be a tasty matchup for the next round.
Yeah.
Anything to add, Eric, or want to move on to
I mean, I was gonna get into the Vinicius Jr., like the penalty that he missed.
Yeah, that too. I didn't mention that.
Oh yeah.
It's just a testament, man. You look at it on paper, Real had possession most of the game, and they played the possession game, but Atletico, I think, was the one that was creating the most opportunities and seemed the most dangerous. And the fact that you even score at the 30-second mark, like, those are always fun. So the game started off intense, just like right off the bat. And, you know, you have all these missed opportunities from Real, and in the end, even their game-winning goal is nearly saved by the keeper. So, again, goes to show that even the better team can go ahead and lose in a two-leg matchup, right? So I am excited because we had Real going pretty much, I had them going all the way. So even though I'm not a Real fan myself, I do want to see how this does play out. But the fact that they won just by the skin of their teeth, I think just adds to the excitement. So we'll see how they do in the future. But interesting to see them in a vulnerable state, no question.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that whole Vinny miss. I mean, you touched on it a bit, Trey, like just his performance in that game being kind of dreadful. But missing a pen like that in those circumstances, I mean, I really thought Mbappe was going to take it too. I'm sure in the moment he was really mad he didn't. Just crazy to see.
Yeah, which is wild because Mbappe won the pen.
Yeah.
And I don't get. It seems like Madrid have some kind of rotating system between Mbappe, Vinny, and Jude. I think I've seen them all take pens, so I don't really know. I don't really like that setup. I think you should have like a confident go-to guy, but I'm sure they all want to get their goal tally up. But you would expect the way people talk about Vinny is that like these are the moments he thrives in. Like he's like the Champions League, Real Madrid heritage. Like the reason why he was even a Ballon d'Or contender or favorite was because of that Champions League run last year. And to see him choke like that was honestly really unexpected. But it was just a testament to his entire performance.